Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickel is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTK-DB. I'm Kelly Brickel, and we have a reading show today. So, in a moment, if you want, pop down your numbers, pop down your question, and just let me know you want a reading, and then we just away we go with that. We just have a lot of fun, whether it's card pulls, numerology, and I'll kind of tell you what I'm looking for too. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm in this mood when I'm reading before I begin. So yeah, we always talk in the beginning about the topic of the day. We take some questions, just it's important to not just treat spirituality as, can I have the answers? It's more like a conversation with the energy. In order to have a relationship, you have to grow that relationship, and it has to be like, a conversation, a conversing energy. A lot of times people talk about, getting to know their guides and their guides becoming their friends. Well, you got to be friends with the energy, and the energy stream of what is available to us in the universe and the different levels of consciousness. It involves these beings too that have all this information, and just on the most understandable, simplistic level of our concept of God. And that's powerful. Like, simplicity is powerful. But there's all these different chains of command of how energy is orchestrated, and you can have relationships with the different orchestrations of energy. And some people, they're very connected to angels. Some people, they're very connected to different types of guides, whether it's a guide that's in the family or a guide that is, let's say, just about a certain part of your spiritual growth. Like, there's different types of guides just for us, where one's like a healing guide, one's a teaching guide. One is sometimes like our main guide, which we talk the most with, or one has its job with maybe more the mediumship connections, or our protector guide. There's so many different roles, just like there's so many different ways to work with being a psychic medium, a healer, a numerologist. For me, is me being a type of psychic. It really is. It is a way to work with energy, but in an archetypal way. And when you're really comfortable with the archetypes, when you're truly comfortable with the archetypes, you let them fall away, and you just kind of walk the path with the archetype to acknowledge that there is deep wisdom that you can follow the breadcrumbs of. But in the end, it really does fall away. So it's just one way you walk as an intuitive, with being a numerologist or an astrologer or a Reiki master or a certain type of medium. It's just the way that we walk until everything just is what it is. That's how I feel. And it's with the energy of relationships. You should have conversations within your spiritual development and the way that you receive energy of what exactly is going on, because it's not just the reading, it's not just the healing, it's not just talking to mom or dad and that's where it is, I have to know that information. No, you're a spirit too. Everyone's a spirit. Everyone on earth is a spirit. They just happen to be living on the earth plane. And everyone else that has either left the earth plane because they finished their life cycle, or they're on the other side or on other planes, they're living too. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So I don't know how we came to be. If we can't be created, we're like eternal, right? But we don't leave, we continue. And everyone is living. And so, wouldn't you want to know about your spirit? Wouldn't you want to know about energy if that's just naturally who you are? And it's not about going to people and asking, like, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Um, we all have roles. So sometimes, yes, they will fulfill that role for you because that's where they've put their expertise and they should be of service. So, yes, but it's to acknowledge that this person has all the tendencies and experiences that you possibly can have. It's just maybe you're not at that point in wanting to have those experiences, right? We can only do so much with our energy in such a finite form, in such a human form. So, as we live, it only is in our greatest advantage to be more conscious. It's only in our greatest advantage to understand what's really going on. Why are we doing the things that we do? Why do we want what we want? Why are we, attracted to who we're attracted to? Why do we want the career? Why, does our health go up and down? What is really going on? And sometimes we're like, I have no idea. And sometimes we're like, I do have an idea. I'm not doing A, B, and C. Okay. Well, those conversations are very sacred and important that you have within yourself of you knowing, and it makes your life profoundly more maneuverable. And with spiritual growth, everyone's having spiritual experiences. That's the thing. Sometimes things don't seem as elaborate. Sometimes things seem like really like, whoa, that happened to you. That's possible. You saw your dad standing in the doorway. Someone told you you're going to get a job in September, right? Someone said you're not going to get, the diamond ring. You're going to get, an aquamarine or a light blue sapphire, whatever, right? And it came true. Those are so fun, but we're all having spiritual conversations and knowings on an ongoing basis, and that's why it's so important to talk about life as well as when we were doing the actual reading portions of it. So important. So I want to say hello to everyone coming in. So hello B, hello Stephanie, hello Christine, Angela, Keith, Christine, Aspen, everyone, Cindy. Thank you so much. And I'm just looking for questions. Christine is talking about guides. How can we get their names? Okay, great question. Everything in the beginning is just a learning experience, unless something just happens to us, right? And even that's a learning experience, actually. But everything in the beginning, you just be curious, right? Just like when we see our guides for the first time, are they, do they have dark skin? Do they have light skin? Do they have blue eyes? Do they have brown eyes? Are they a male or a female? Same with the names. Does the name sound short? Does it sound long? Is it something familiar? Is it a name that you've never heard before? Treat it like a quality. Treat the tonal qualities like a visual quality. Treat the tonal qualities of the name like a feeling quality. Have a relationship with how things feel. And it doesn't have to be the right name. It can be within a ballpark. And the more that you develop a relationship with someone, the more that you can go, oh, I feel like maybe you're telling me you actually want to be called this instead. So guides are very open-minded because they're on a different plane. They look at life very differently. They work their energy very differently. They're not offended if you're calling them by a name that actually isn't their name. That is, the name is the symbol of the relationship that you have. As long as you have a name, you're going to increase the relationship. When you give something a name, you give it power, you give it energy, you give it presence. So it's very important to give our guides names. And then that relationship with how we not only call them by, but see them by does change. I know a lot of people, when they first see their guides, they look very differently, because their personality comes out and they're like, oh, well, I feel like that this person, is feminine, so they're dressing in all these, feminine fancy clothes, but really the vibration was feminine, but maybe they don't dress like that at all, and maybe they didn't have like the intended wavy hair. Maybe it's more like dark and slicked back, and we have these understandings of what certain energy means to us, and it's important for us to go, there's a reason I got that, but to keep it open ended and to let the relationship unfurl. Like, think about it, like when you've met a best friend, or like let's say you've had a soulmate connection, or you've just hit it off with somebody, right? You have these preconceived notions about them because you just feel like you connect to them. You just feel, and a good chunk of them might be accurate because you're just like, it's in like, it's simpatico, like you're just like, there's something about this where I just know about this person to a higher degree level than normal. But then you learn like, oh, well, they're like this, but in this way. And they have that, but I overlooked this. It's like that for any relationship. And guides can be truly best friends. They're really looking out for your best interests and your best heart. Um, you're going to learn so much with them. It's just a matter of how much time would you like to devote, because it's going to take commitment, just like any relationship does. So I encourage you, like I've heard stories with some of the most amazing professional psychic mediums where they've actually changed or tweaked how they see their guides because their understanding and their senses opened up and developed. And the guides always say, it didn't matter what you called me. It's just now, since you understand me a little bit more deeper, this is actually my name. This is more actually how I look like. And it could change again, right? Who are we to say we know it all? You just further the journey with your guides, and you further the journey with what God means to you, and you further the journey into what your spirit means to you. It's all that. It's all that. I think it's important to embrace energy and to describe what you get. I think that's so important because there's a reason, right? But it's almost like there's this detachment because you're just like, I don't know why I'm getting like this, but this is what's going on. And when we just know that it's not coming from us and we commit on that level, I do think things go a lot more beautifully. Um, Someone's like, I like hearing, like, oh, when they talk to the guides, it's like hearing a voice on the phone, but meeting them and they are not what you pictured. Oh, well, it can be what you pictured, and it can be correct. So it matters of how how much were you putting your imagination in with what you wanted the guide to be, or how much did you put your imagination into what you felt like, if you want your guide to be powerful or beautiful or strong or handsome, because you're like, oh, like on the other side, they get to look like however they want. So, what is my version of beautiful or handsome? Because they're going to be like that. They could come in completely different because their version of handsome or powerful could look completely different to anything you ever expected. Absolutely. If you work with them and you're like, I don't know, show me, and you have a more detached acceptance with the energy, you can actually see things probably in a way that is a little bit more consistent, and I'll put it like that. Okay, someone says, yes, I think I've met a guide in a dream, but I felt the way they looked in the dream versus how they actually look will be different. Yeah, it's just an invitation to paying attention to the energy, right? And sometimes we need something to look impressive for us to pay attention to it. That song, like, what if God was one of us? Well, if God was one of us and just a stranger on a bus, we're not going to pay attention, maybe. We're not. We're just gonna think it's just another person on their way. But if we're just blinded by the lights, right? We go, does that person have a message? What's this person about, right? Or wow, what makes this person tick? We have to. The spirit world does make sure that we pay attention at times, so we can get things going. Because honestly, there's a million things happening, always a billion. plus things happening, and we just do not have the capacity to pay attention to it unless it hits us across the face, especially if we're not used to it. So that's why guides come in a certain way, or they accept, us giving them certain personas at times, because they're like, great, we just want you to pay attention. We're just trying to help. If only you'd pay attention. And it's very, very interesting. Oh, I just clicked something. Okay. So cool. Vanessa, this is all about guide talk. I love it. I love guide talk before we start. It's great. Hi, Gail. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Christy. It's great to see you. I'm waving to you right back. Vanessa, she's talking about, she went to sleep with the intention of meeting her guide. She woke up hearing the name Bill. It was echoing and not a dream nor a thought. When you have experiences like that, correct, it's on another level. And you're conscious, right? And it reverberates within inside of you, or even sometimes outside of you, depending on how it comes in. And you made that intention. It's so powerful when we give intention to things. We can be like, oh, I want this. But if we routinely say, hey, I want to meet my guides, I want to meet my guides, and we actually believe the intention, that we actually believe along with it, like, I will have an experience with my guide. When I wake up, I will know more about my guide. It's one thing to say, I'm going in this direction, and then it's a whole nother power activation when you're like, I know it's coming. Absolutely. I believe in that. Like, anytime I've intended something, it comes in a way that I don't expect always, but it always comes. The answer always comes, or a glimmer of something always comes, a breadcrumb always comes. So I think that's fantastic, Vanessa. I think you should continue on with your intentions, and you have a good activation within just opening up your clairaudience with that alone. So I would continue to work with their audience if you're already not doing so, because boom. All right. Someone's talking about, I have a name for my healer guide, but no visual. That's okay. That's okay. I have a somewhat visual on all my guides except one. There's this one guide, and then he's like raw. Sometimes it sounds like rom, but usually it's raw. And he just comes in as a color, and it feels more like a masculine. It could be, there's a mysterious energy with that guide, and that guide is actually very helpful and influential, but it comes in as a manifestation of color and energy, and everyone else comes in as a figure, a personality. They have clothes, they have hair, you know what I mean? They have a name that's like more defined. And like my guide that's raw, it's like at times I'm like, is it rum? Is it something else? Because I'm like, oh, like raw. That almost sounds like a name that's not even clearly defined, unless it is raw, because that's just power in itself. So I just make peace with it. And that's the way that one guide shows up for me. It's just like a cyclone of energy, or a merging of energy. It can feels very elemental, just in its constitution. And it swirls with reds and oranges and blacks and sometimes purples. And it feels very stable. It feels very helpful. Okay. Um, there's nothing that I go, oh, why aren't you more defined? I just go, okay, that's just how you are. And sometimes the color quantities do change within that, but it's usually those colors. So you don't have to have things clearly defined, and you just have to have things within your heart and soul feel like, you know what, this feels okay, this feels good, this feels helpful, this feels loving, and just explore the relationship. There's many people that we deal with on an everyday basis. It could be a coworker, it could be even a family member, and we feel like we've never even breached the surface with understanding who they are. There's always ways, but yeah, there's a lot of people we know very intimately, but we don't know I'm gonna put we have the blood relationship intimacy, or we have the frequency of interaction intimacy, but there's actually no true intimacy of the relationship. I hope that makes sense. It's a weird way to put it, but you get it. Okay. Cindy's asking, how do I know when my guide appears? Oh, that's a great question. So there's no one way for it, but a lot of people feel like they can have that experience within meditation because your intention is conscious and you're actually lowering your attention of everything else around you but that. Because when we close our eyes and we go in deep, we're almost in a state of sleep. So we're turning off our physical eyes, we're turning off our physical ears, and we are turning on our intuition and our energetic sensitivity like we can't possibly do when we're in the waking world. It's just, especially when we're first learning about it, it's too distracting in the waking world. It's too distracting to just be living normal life and attuning our spiritual and energy sensitivities. It's too much. So it's very important to get into a room and have some type of sensory deprivation, whether you're dimming the lights or turning them off, or you're closing your eyes, but you're making sure the room's not too bright, so you're not distracted by the light. The things are not too noisy, right? And you make yourself feel comfortable. Like, you don't want to go in anxious, because just like if there's too much light in the room, that's too much stimulus. If you're going in anxious, or if you're going in fearful of having a connection with just what is actually naturally there, like a family member, what's going to happen is it's too much feeling stimulus and you might shut yourself down. So you just get yourself very comfortable and open, and you can do it on a day where you just feel more positive, or get into a state where you feel positive and receptive, and you invite energy to come to you, and you just feel it. Does it feel like a man? Does it feel like a woman? You just write down what you feel, or you talk about it with yourself, how you feel. And it's really important to talk about it with yourself, or even more importantly, write it down, because you are acknowledging your experience beyond your imagination. You're acknowledging your experience beyond what's in your own head. You have to have a relationship with bridging what your reality is and returning to those moments where you can have an interaction with just that, the energy, and understanding that that is reality, and how you conceptualize and how you sense it. It's very, very important. Some people have had experiences where they feel their guide like talking to them while they're at work. They're like, hey, and like they hear a voice, or when they're driving within their car, they're like busy on some other task and they get like kind of brought out. Sometimes their guide protects them and tells them, hey, don't do that. Don't go that direction. Don't go with that person. So sometimes there's like almost like a guardian like interaction, and they're stepping in to help you. And they're like, if you take this seriously, right, you're acknowledging the validity of this reality for yourself, and you're acknowledging the validity of that this is something that now is a part of your life. So my favorite way is meditation. You can ask for the spirit world to come to you in your sleep. You will have more variance with that. So for some people, it's incredibly powerful, but it depends on what your natural sensitivities are and how open you are with your dreams. But the meditation is very, very powerful, and you can do that consistently and consciously. And I just love like when color and feelings and shapes, like you'll feel like a presence of a person. I love working with there from square one, and just take notes, and you just return yourself back to the process. Let's see here. That's for Cindy. And I love all these guide questions. I really do. Gail has asked my guide their name that night, and I was shown a newspaper clipping with the name Miss Tilly, demised in her beloved DeSoto. Then shown an old car underwater, all in pieces. So I assumed that's how she passed. Also, I assume my guidance name is Tilly. What are your thoughts? I do recognize her and honor her. So, Gail, yes, when they show us signs of things, it's not exactly always everything has to fit, right? When you get that newspaper clipping, what pulls at you the most in that newspaper clipping? And you saw Miss Tilly, so they could be showing you like, hey, like there's a personality where she likes to be called Miss. There's something like a little bit more demure about her. Or just the name Tilly itself. Where are you drawn? So again, you just asked for the name. You didn't ask for the passing. So they provided the name. So it doesn't have to be everything. And a lot of times guides, um, it's a mixture, but a lot of times guides don't spend a lot of time incarnating here because their job is to be a guide. There are guides who have been to Earth, there are guides who have never been to Earth. And we have different types of guides, okay, with how they work with our energy. We actually need a couple of guides that haven't been to Earth or at all to make sure that things are more objective for us at times. So I do think Miss Tilly is a big clue, it's a big pull. Again, it's an ode to who she is, but I don't necessarily think it has to be the passing connected to her. And that's how I feel. But she's teaching you to think about the other side. She's teaching you to think about, you know, that life goes beyond. So she used a vehicle in more ways than one to accentuate your curiosity with passing and the other side and how things are beyond. So that's what I think and feel when I read. Um, cool. We said Zoe is asking, could you tell me if I'm close to manifesting my SP? Your SP. SP. I don't know what your SP is. Acronyms. It could be like a lot of different things. Your spiritual P. You're gonna have to tell me what SP means. A specific person. Oh yeah, I was looking at them like soulmate, but that's SM, and your SP. Got it. All right. Well, at least we were on the right track with that specific person. Okay, we'll go into that for readings. And then Cindy says, "Thank you. I've been told that I'm vulnerable to spirits." We have these natural sensitivities, everyone does, where you're just more easily going to pick up certain things. And that's why it's so important, one size does not fit all with spirituality, because everybody has natural tendencies to pick up on a certain type of thing. It highlights that you're good with that energy normally within everyday life. So if you can bridge what you find yourself vulnerable to or sensitive to, it's demonstrating that you have high capacity in certain categories of your life. Now, not everyone is balanced with their capacities. Sometimes their capacities turn into vulnerabilities or lack of boundaries, and that's really important. But it's highlighting a potential that you have, because it's not a new potential. You've worked with that energy before and use it within your life, with how you go about things. Absolutely. Because if you work with energy, you're just able to do it. Okay. If you're able to deal with it and receive it, it's a part of you. It's already in your constitution. Okay. The last question I'll take, and then we'll go into readings, is Aspen. Thank you, Gail. Aspen says, do you have any books you recommend that speaks more about this topic? Appreciate your speaking. Oh, with guides. That's a great, great question. I'm trying to think of, I really love some of like Lisa Williams' first book. Um, and it goes into her relationship with her guide in the story, her main guide. I think it's Ben. She talks about how in one of the chapters, and it really recounts her whole, experience with becoming a medium and things. So it's just a good book in general, and just her life. It's a very down to earth account. But she talks about her guide, and she like wakes up one night, I believe, and her guide goes, "Oh, actually, this is my name." And she's like, "Why didn't you ever tell me that?" And it goes into kind of how close, her development is with her guide and her experience. And so just that story in itself, like I love it for it. Another great one, it's not as mediumship focused. It's more like energy focused and energy management focused, is Ask Your Guides by Sonia Choquette. I like that because it teaches you how to think in energy and to relate in energy. And there's a lot of like little exercises, and it's about thinking of things in a way where you could have a guide if you want that's a joy guide. You can have a guide if you want that helps you like with a parking spot. You can have a guide in any capacity, and to start to invite new relationships into your life where how you function is much, much different than how we ever been taught. And you can use things to your optimal advantage. So again, it's not mediumship based, Ask Your Guides, but it teaches you how to think differently. So I really like that one as well. It's lighter, more lovely reading. Okay. Now sometimes we just have to have fun with energy. Okay. All right. And I'm clicking things again. Let's go into readings. So everybody pop down why do I keep clicking things today? I'm like getting rid of my screen where everyone's comments are. We're gonna go into readings. So everyone pop down your birth dates, pop down your questions, and we will be doing numbers and also card pulls and all that jazz. Okay. Right. So let's go to the first person that just is gonna feel out where to go first. A lot of lovely comments. All right. Angela. Okay. And B, I'm gonna go to Angela and B, popping down their numbers to start. Okay. Angela. 822, 82. Love all those repeating numbers. That's always fun. Attitude 3, personal day 4, life path 5, I believe. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and then you're in a cycle of 1. And okay, so what comes off the dome, Angela, at the beginning is we've probably talked about certain aspects before, so I hope some of this is new, and I hope some of this is just a confirmation. But an attitude 3, you always have to make sure you're in a place where you are comfortable to use your voice. Okay? Your natural expression of who you are, and you feel most comfortable and in power, and you feel like, I'm in the right spot, is when you find yourself wanting to share, when you find yourself being very natural in expressing. If you don't have that, that's a red flag. It means the person, the situation, the environment, it's a red flag. You actually should be the one encouraging others to talk more. So if you're the one shutting down or just observing or withholding, it just lets you know that red flag. And the red flag sometimes like our wellness is not where it's at and we feel shut down. And so we don't have the energy to be that way. So sometimes it's like, I'm not in the capacity to really bring my full self to the table right now. So it's about evaluating that and knowing like self-wellness or the quality of people, right? But I would say always lean into sharing your voice, always lean into trying to make someone laugh, because you have this natural capacity and it's very good for people to feel that energy. And regardless of what the entire comfortability is, it's going to open up energy for you too, because naturally, again, you're very much like that. So wouldn't you want to be in your natural peak and strength? Even if you are tired, even if you do feel like maybe it's not a slam dunk within who's in front of you or the relationship, you should push that energy, or more so lean into that energy, and actually it will help you and your brain and your heart further confirm how you feel about the situation, the people, or your own self-care. Because if you lean into your power, again, you have more power. If you lean into your awareness, you have more awareness. So lean into you being a little bit more extroverted. You'd be surprised kind of the ahas you have in those moments of, oh, I should do more of this, or it's this because, it's that because. So that comes in very strong to acknowledge. You're in a cycle 1, so it's all about redefining yourself. It's all about redefining yourself. Take the invitations to redefine yourself. 1 needs movement. 1 needs activation. 1 is the element of fire. So you have this naturally within a cycle of 1 because it ignites it within a person to go be this way. You know, we're gonna give you dreams, we're gonna give you aspirations, we're gonna give you a little bit more heat under your step. It's going to make you do that, but then it wants to keep you moving. So if you feel like, "Oh, I'm tired," or it's been a little bit more difficult, lean in. I'm talking about leaning in a lot, into just the doing and believing, because 1 has so much creation energy for you, and it wants you to be that, and it activates so much quicker than a lot of the other years. So push yourself. Even if you've been a little tired, you know that you've been more motivated this year. So just continue to move and push yourself, move your body, and don't get into the same ruts. That's what this year is inviting you to do. And actually, if you do that, the rest of the years going forward actually will have a lot more luck behind them because you've put in some initial groundwork. So push yourself this year. It's very advantageous. You are a life path 5. So this is actually very good. This cycle can be very, very good for career. This cycle can be very, very good for travel. Go out. It doesn't have to be, I push myself for my career. I push myself for other people to make them happy. It's like you just need to get out of your comfort, travel, try new things. Seriously, pick up things that you normally wouldn't, meet new people, make it fun, push yourself for the fun, please. Okay, so that's what's coming in for you. And hopefully that validates, because I'm like, come on, do it, do it, do it. And then B, you're 12-10, you're 1973. So then you're in attitude 4. You're a personal day 10. You are a life path 6, I believe. Let me just double check. 1 and 1. And yep. And then you are in a cycle 2. Okay. So B, just heads up. Anytime I see somebody in a cycle of 2, it is a more emotional time. It is. And that's okay. And I think it's so important. It sounds simple, but it's very, very important for me to give someone a heads up on that, because when we are in heavy 2 energy, we feel like one month to another month, sometimes angry, sad, pulled down. Like it's the 2 forces you to hunker down and kind of review things on a level that you normally wouldn't pay attention to, because when we're overwhelmed by feelings, we're like, I surrender. I can't even function, right? I can barely function because I just feel a certain way. And it's about embracing that and going, this is my sign where I gotta look at things a little bit differently. I have to process things a little bit differently. And whenever there's that strong 2 energy, it's so, so important to have journaling, self-care, a support system, or a way where you can kind of shut the world out a little bit and tend to you and give yourself love and care, because everything's coming up to the surface, and that means it's ready to come up to the surface. It's a blessing. It's basically you're being invited to level up but you have to get a little uncomfortable. And so the 2 can make things very uncomfortable because it's a very sensitive number. And it makes us feel in a way where it's kind of foreign to us. We're like, this isn't me. I mean, of course I feel this way, but like this is intense. And so that's okay. It's coming up because it wants to be dealt with. I really highly suggest that, during this time, if you need a metaphor vehicle to watch like TV or movies or even a book where you can see yourself through the eyes of someone else's story and process it that way too, really, really needed, really, really helpful. You have to have some type of identity understanding of what this all means to you rather than pushing it away. So, cycle 2, important for that. Your attitude 4, you like things to be a little bit more organized and systematic. Very, very important to you. As a personal day 1, it's great because not everyone knows kind of the superpower about their personal day, but when you're a 1, people pay attention to you. Whether they mean to or not, people pay attention to you. The 1 is leadership number. The 1 is a fire number. The 1 has this light that goes, hey, I'm here. And so whether you are in business or whether you are with friends and family, you actually have a boom to your voice and presence, and lean into that if you want things to get done or if you want to rally people to help others. People are more likely to listen to you than the average person. You are a life path 6, and this is great because it just validates some of the things that I'm saying. As a life path 6, like our pinnacle of what we have aspired to be is that family support system. It's bringing family together, going above and beyond for family, bringing people into some type of loving community environment. So it's also friends, treating them like family, as well as having that strong family unit. So with you being a natural leader, with people paying attention to you, like lean into ways where you can help better the family, lean into ways where you can help better your coworkers, lean into ways where you can even like, when someone has 6 energy, they can take this outside of the family and outside of being a coworker into volunteering and charity work. Like, because their heart and their willingness to serve for something that is important to them can extend beyond their just domestic duties. So it's like, how do you want to extend your heart? You could just literally help to create your family and close relationships shine in what you do every day and who you see every day. Just love up on them. Or you could take it further and you can inspire others. So it's just a thing to think about. How do you want to give back? Because the way that you give is quite generous. And so always good to really have a conscious relationship with our generosity, because then we can even be way more dynamic with what that means. Okay, so absolutely. Thank you, Angela. Absolutely. Zoe. I love it. Oh, she's giving me some of her astrology too. I love it. She's like, my sun is in Pisces, my moon is in Leo, and my rising is in Aquarius, and my life path is 3. I love when people put down. So yeah, astrology is a whole another ball of wax, but it lets me know, like with you being a Leo, authenticity is very important to you. Truth is very important to you. And the Pisces, that is about allowing yourself to just be led where you need to be led, and to give from a pure place where you don't overthink things, you don't run, you don't say, I don't want to do that. It's like you're just led to certain places, and it doesn't matter if they make sense. It doesn't matter. Like you're there for a reason. Embracing kind of the unpredictableness. And Aquarius is great with unpredictableness, but they're more discerning of, do I really want to be here? And the Pisces is more like, yeah, I really don't want to be here, but it's for greater purpose. So it's your life's work will be about ways that are unconventional, that are creative, that are new or spiritual. So lean into that. And I love you mentioned again the life path 3. When someone is a life path 3, that's their full birth date adding up. It means that whatever that they do in life, they have to be using their voice to help others. So some people teach, some people just explain things really well, but they have no desire to teach. Um, and they can draw people to them with the way they present things. But again, you just have to use your voice in whatever way you are comfortable with your voice. Some people write, whether it's poetry or other things within the imagination. You have to be using your creativity and you have to be expressing and letting it flow out of you. You cannot keep things in your head. Okay, 3 is the most extroverted number. It shines being extroverted. The only way it can function is if it's seen and heard. So whatever you do within your life, you have to be using your voice or be using your talents in a way where you are writing or conveying, where people are learning and seeing and experiencing. Okay, so giving that to you. Gail, take down your number 731, 62. And I'm just going down to the bottom. Zoe is, thank you, B. And then Zoe is talking about, I'm very emotional, LOL. Yeah, Pisces is so fun like that. I'm close to manifesting a specific person because I'm working hard on manifesting them. So I would say, this is one of my favorite pieces of advice. If you have something you're manifesting, if you have a list of things that you look for an ideal partner, start to become those things on the list, because we very easily attract to us if we are same or like energy. We shouldn't be trying to pull it to us. We should be becoming it. Okay. We're attracted to most people because we want a part of ourselves wishes or wants to experience that type of energy. So if you are becoming the things that you find attractive, and it, again, if you just, I'm going to just make something up just for an example. If you find it's very attractive that someone plays sports, well, what is the essence of what makes that attractive? Do you like the fact that they're physically fit? Do you like the fact that they're agile? Do you like the fact that they are, able to use their body and have, flexibility in a way where maybe you're not as coordinated, and you want mastery of your own body? Like, so why are you attracted to some of the men that appear to be that certain way? It's because you desire that energy within yourself, and it's not at first the face value of, oh, it's like, I don't want to be athletic, I just like people who are athletic. It's not about that. It's what is the next layer and the next layer down and the next layer down. So if you give yourself the energy that you seek, you can attract it actually very easily, because the person you're attracted to is going to be like, oh, you work like that, I work like that, and they're going to feel an affinity towards you, rather than bridging the gap. Bridging the gap takes way more energy, and there has to be other things that are similar in order to attract you to the person to even bridge the gap. There has to be something that they see in you that is so delightful, that is so intriguing, that they acknowledge or want within themselves, right? They have to be seeking it, or they have to be similar to you in order to bridge the gap that you're trying to bridge with saying, I don't have that. I wish I had this within a person. Let me pull them to me. Let me manifest them. Okay. So that's very, very, very important to consider. Talked about, and also when we're manifesting, we cannot control other people's will. We cannot. We can say, universe, I'd like something like this. And they're like, great, working on it. Let's teach you things so you can figure out how you can get that. Right. But we can never control someone's free will. So manifesting a specific person, it usually doesn't bode well. It usually doesn't bode well, because they're manifesting too. And what they want and what they desire, it's of equal power. It's of equal power. And anything in between that where you have more intention in it only lasts for so long because we can't control someone else's will. So it's very important to think like that. Um, I would just say the old energy didn't work, Zoe. The old energy didn't work. So you have to get into a completely different, new energetic state of yourself and see what happens. See what you want when you're in completely new energetic state of yourself. You can't do this based on the old Zoe and what the old Zoe longed for and wanted. That is very, very, very strong. You have to completely redefine the things that you want, the things that you long for within him, you have to create within yourself. And if you have that, heck, if you want that person, he's going to see you completely differently. No matter what happens, he's going to see you completely differently and be attracted to the best parts that are coming out and surfacing within yourself. So that is a win-win, and the rest is up to free will. Okay. So, yes, thank you, Aspen. All right. I wanted to do Gail. All right. So 73162. Attitude 2, Gail. Personal day 4, life path 62. 1962. So that'd be 8, 1, and 3. Gail, let me just double check. That's right. Okay, so then your life path 2. This is why I double check. Okay, so your cycle is going to be a 9. Okay, so Gail, you were in a cycle of 9, and so it's always a fun time, never a dull moment, in a cycle 9. It forces change. It makes things so busy that you don't overthink it. You just have to experience it. It's also a very creative time. So you'll find yourself being very inspired, but not always necessarily having time to do everything. You might do like a little here and there, a little here and there. And my favorite thing about a cycle 9 is it makes us have this new identity to start to be birthed within ourselves, where we start to believe, yeah, I could do that. Or we start to see things like with our parents or siblings or past relationships with, that's why that happened. It's almost like there's these aha moments where the rules always don't apply the same way, or the energy with what we once identified, all of a sudden, since we're shifting so much, we go, I get it now. I'm removed enough from the situation. I get it now. I was either holding myself back or they were holding me back. I just gotta forgive, and just move forward. And there's like a freedom within that comes in a way that doesn't come within the other numbers. So forgiveness is a big theme here, but also it invites you to be really creative and start imagining kind of what you want to do to shake things up. And next year really supports that. This year does too, but next year really supports that, getting into actual physical motion. So you are an attitude 2. Whenever I see that within a person, I like to give them a heads up. They are way more sensitive than your average person with their constitution. Their nervous system is very, very, very sensitive. So from a young age, you have a way better BS meter than the average person, and you will find yourself kind of leaving environments if they're too busy or too overwhelming or social, and spending a little bit more alone time to calibrate yourself. An attitude 2, you can have a superpower with sizing up people, a superpower with understanding what people's needs are. You're going to find intuition easier than the average person if you just go in and just start playing around with it. You are. But you're going to get the other flip side of the coin where you'll get overwhelmed more. So self-care is paramount. Be very, very good to yourself. Learn about sleep, nutrition, vitamins, exercise, make that nervous system really strong. And you'll be way better off than most of the population. You have a great gift, but it comes with great responsibility. I know that's cheesy, but attitude 2, rock it. And yeah, I'm going to put it like that. I say that very strongly because your life path 2 as well, and your personal day 4. And so I just know that rhythm and routine and immense self-care is needed. And you'll always be changing and tweaking because you have so many earth-based numbers, that the constitution of you relating to earth energy is amplified. So funny I say that because I talk about earth energy. It's actually a lot of water energy. Forgive me. You have so much water energy. But what happens is you deal with earth a lot, but you have a little bit less bioenergy than the average person. So that's why you need to replenish your earth energy. So I hope that makes sense. And Gail, just keep it in mind. Oh, right. Everybody, I'm going to see you on Friday. You know, we're having more fun with the reading shows. It's summer. We're just having fun. So I will see you then for the psychic hour. Until then, please go with love, luck, light, and laughter. And don't forget to live. See you in a bit. Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.